fucking dream so big that they'll haunt you or they'll calm you. That's how you know if you gotta go and get to win and not conquer. I had to go out and get it without a sponsor. Kept it real, never crooked, yeah, that's honor. Now I can go out and get it how I want to. Hashtag bless, I choose.
Good morning, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, and Gitter. Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show. Today is Monday, May 27th, and happy Memorial Day. And big shout out to all the veterans out there that have, and the families with veterans that are still deployed. And God bless the brave men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have the freedom to enjoy these live streams and celebrate today in honor of them. So God bless each and every one of them. Today we're going to be joined by a special guest, and I was practicing saying this name so many times before we got started. So it's Alana Mediavilla. If I'm not saying that right. I'm just going to bring her on and let her introduce herself.
Alana Mediavilla. But you did a good job with you did better than when we were practicing. The
Well,
practice
Alana,
worked.
welcome to the show. Why don't we get started? I want to hear a little bit about yourself. So why don't you tell us where you grew up at?
I grew up in Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Santurce. And then when I was 9, I moved to Coupé. And then I left. I did my first 2 years of college here. And then I transferred to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn to do my 3rd year of college. And then that's when I got pregnant and met my now husband, then boyfriend. And we had our first baby. I dropped out, and then I just stayed in the United States from that point on. So I was in the States for 15 years. And then, because I was in college there for 1 year before we moved. And then moved back to Puerto Rico with my family a few years ago at this point.
Wow. I have so many questions. So what year did you come over here for college?
I went 2007. Yeah, 2007.
Okay, so you're in the college in the same time I was. What was it like when you came over from the countries that you came from? What was your first experience in America like?
Well, it was cruel. I did not fall in love immediately with New York. I feel like New York had to grow on me. I was there, like, I had so many hostile experiences of people throwing so much aggression my way. I had never felt that because in Puerto Rico, everything is chill, maybe a little passive aggressive, but still chill. And the amount of like anger that I got, I remember I was like 2 days into being in New York, and I'm like in the subway. I bump into a woman because I don't even know how to stand on the subway yet. I didn't have my subway legs. And then I kind of like stumble like an idiot. And then I fall on this woman, and she's like, "Girl, back off. I'm Puerto Rican. You don't want to mess with me. I'm Puerto Rican." And I'm like, I literally still have sand in my shoes from being Puerto Rican. And I'm like, what does that mean? Is that a line I can use? I can just tell people like I'm Puerto Rican and that like means something here. Like, I don't understand. But it was just very interesting. And then of course I ended up falling in love with New York and falling in love in New York, which is such a great city to fall in love with and go on dates in, and had my daughter there. I had my first daughter in Brooklyn. So it was great. It was a great experience, but it wasn't love at first sight.
So what happened after that? So you had your daughter, and then how long did you stay in America?
So from New York, we took the train. We got rid of everything in New York because 2008 happened. 2009 was very depressing where we were living, and we were in Crown Heights, and then we moved kind of right along Bedford, but on Myrtle, so further down. And businesses were closing. Things were like Occupy was going on in over in Manhattan. I mean, it was just such a depressing feeling. And then my husband's from Santa Cruz, and then we went that winter to Santa Cruz to spend Christmas with his family and our baby daughter. We were like, there was no depression, there were like new Tesla, the Roadster was going, like there was Lamborghinis, there were Land Rovers, the people were like shopping, and it was sunny and the weather was great. And I was like, fuck, man, this is good. Like we should just come here. And then we got rid of everything in New York. And then we just took the train, took 3 days and just kind of decompressed out of New York, which was very tough. We had very good friends in New York. So it was really hard to leave. But we did. And then I spent 13 years in California. So we were in Santa Cruz, went up to San Jose, did the Silicon Valley. That's where I really feel like I grew up as an adult, was Silicon Valley.
What was that like going from Silicon or from New York City to California? Tell me a little bit about that. What was that like? That seems like a quite the transition.
Yes. Amazing. I feel like New York is tough. New York is a tough place to be in. Like walking to the subway, being cold, being hot, being rainy, protests. There's like just so much going on. And then that's part of the reason why it's so exciting. But it's a challenging place to be in. And you're constantly like, your best self surviving, like you're like, And I think that that's a good thing. But California is kind of the other way. California is super chill. California, you can just kind of relax. People are a little bit more like, yeah, call me tomorrow. Don't worry. I know it's after hours over, don't answer the emails during the weekend or at night. It's very
Mhm.
chill. And you might not have kids, but you can take 6 weeks off anyway, so that you can, it's not fair for the women that don't have kids. So like Silicon Valley, like lets women just take 6 months off, 6 months or 6 weeks. Depends on the company actually. So it's a very different place. And I really loved being in Silicon Valley when I was, because it was just at the beginning of tech. And then I was making their videos. I was making videos for these tech companies. And so I was just like, every week I had 2 to 3 clients that I was learning about a new technology, creating a script or a documentary, depending on what we were doing. If we were doing like a commercial versus like a lifestyle documentary of the technology.
Mhm.
And so it got me in the room with a lot of really smart people and learning about things that I wouldn't have learned about because, I wasn't a software engineer. I wasn't a hardware engineer either, but I was like the storyteller. I could tell their story, the story of the technology. And so for many years, that's what I was doing. I was like learning complicated things and not dumbing it down. I always said it like it's like having the CTO explain this to me in a way that I can explain it to the CEO. The CEO is still a smart person. They're just not the technical person. They need to sell it. They need to talk about the technology. They need to justify why this migration makes sense to the shareholders, So
Mhm.
the CEO has a very different they're still a smart person, but they don't need to know all of the nitty gritty of the technology because they trust their CTO to, have the right to implement it and to
Mhm.
do that part. And so I was that bridge. And I feel like obviously with Dirtycoin, that's where I was looking at my ikigai, like what am I good at? And I was like, well, I suppose I'm pretty good at explaining tech. So maybe I can explain Bitcoin mining to folks that don't know what it is.
So that was your first experience with filmmaking, or is this something that you were already passionate about, you were already doing before you went to Silicon Valley?
Well, my father's a photographer, and so I grew up with cameras in the house, and he was a film photographer, and he actually worked for Kodak. So he was there were cameras in the house, there were endless amount of film. I
Oh, he
remember the
shot back in
smell
with
of
like the old rolls of films, right? When it was
yeah,
actually on film
yeah,
film?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, because he would get the rolls for free, and so we always had rolls of film, and then we would enjoy taking them to either the pharmacy with like either Walgreens or a couple of the local Puerto Rican places, and we would go and we would get them revealed. We would get revelada. We would get them printed, and it was such a cool feeling, and I really loved it. But I just didn't want to be a wedding photographer or videographer. And I felt that a lot of people that were It's funny because I did end up shooting 2 weddings later on in my life because
Mhm.
I've eaten so much shit. But that was one of the things that I was like, "No, I don't wanna be like, I just thought you're either Spielberg or you're shooting weddings." I didn't really see a difference, and honestly, I started with making stuff for YouTube and making stuff for social media, and that didn't exist back then. It didn't
Mhm.
exist when I was a kid. So for me, I didn't want to stay like stuck in the island and shooting weddings. And so I decided that that's not the career path that I wanted to take when being confronted with, do I want to continue with this camera? But I always kept the camera. And so because I had my daughter young, my daughter was my muse. You know, my belly was my muse at first. I was taking like self portraits with my belly, and then her as a little baby, she was just so incredible, and she still is. And so I had the camera, and I remember we sold it to buy the first DSLR that had like the video function. And then that's when I was like, well, I'm just going to start shooting video. And we were living in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is one of the most beautiful places to find inspiration everywhere,
I've shot there a few
especially with a
times.
cute little baby.
Mhm.
And so I just really started making really fancy home videos. And then when I went to Silicon Valley, I first got a job as a graphic designer, um, and like game asset designer. So I was like a graphic designer, and I started making their videos because we just needed videos of people like using the game. It wasn't really complicated stuff. And I was like, well, I have a good lens. I could shoot that well. And it's like a oneer. It's just, the person picks up the phone, they use it. And so that's how I started. I started taking videos of our apps because we didn't have money for a video team. So I became the video team for that company.
Wow, that's so cool. So where did you go from there? How far after that did you get to where you are today?
Well, so we were in downtown Campbell and in a really cool building that was the cannery. It was like Campbell Cannery building that was turned into office spaces. And there were other companies, and they would always see me outside because sometimes I would have to be like using the phone and grabbing the camera. And that's how I was shooting it. And they were like, "Oh, are you a videographer?" And I'm like, "Well, yes." I mean, here are the YouTube videos of like I already had like, I don't know, made for like 12, 14 videos because we would make like one video per app, and we had a bunch of apps. And so, yeah, so I was like, well, at this point, I kind of have a portfolio, and I would try to make them interesting. I wanted there to be like fun backgrounds. It was a lot of them were apps for kids. So I enjoyed going to a playground or something else where it was like a photo op, and it's like that's where you would be with your kids. And so, yeah, they would see me all around downtown Campbell, basically with the camera filming stuff. And so word spread, and I started moonlighting, making videos for folks, and then I kept doing a lot of videos for them, and then that was my company, and that's what I started 13 years ago. And then Google recruited me because of all my tech work, and so then I became a full-time employee with them. And yeah, and so I did that for almost 5 years, and was kept moonlighting with other tech companies. So Volvo, I've done a lot of work for Volvo. The research, the electronic lab in Silicon Valley in Santa Clara. So yeah, so then I just did a lot of work. I was just pretty much working all the time. Really, not much has changed. And so I decided to get out of the service business and really just dive in and make my first movie. And that was 2.5 years ago. And because I was an executive producer, but an executive producer of a company that had a lot of money to just kind of approve things, and they just needed to go like be successful on YouTube and be successful on Twitter, and we had a rock star marketing team, so of course it was going to be successful, and we had
Mhm.
enough money to make good videos and good films. So the distribution element of it was different than an executive producer that makes movies, because an executive producer that makes movies, the movie itself needs to be profitable. It's
Mhm.
you're getting investment, and the movie needs to make more money than it cost. But you don't need to do that when you're just doing free content for YouTube. That the intention is a million views. Um, and I really liked the risk of the other one. And I just wanted to test it out. And I feel like Dirty Coin is it's my case study. It's me after like so many podcasts that I've listened to and so many books that I've read and paying attention and going to conferences and going to the film markets. It's my like Frankenstein of what I think an indie distribution endeavor would look like. So yeah, so we'll see. So we'll meet again in a year, and I'll tell you how good I've done because we're just getting started.
So when did this video when did you decide to start on this documentary? What year was that?
That was 2021. I decided that I was not going to do one of my scripted movies as my first movie to do this in. I decided it was going to be a documentary because the documentary was going to be cheaper. It was going to be easier for me to raise money, or so I thought. But most of all,
Me
it's
too.
because it was going to be cheaper. And then I decided, okay, it's going to be a documentary. Well, what's the documentary going to be about? And I'm curious about many different things, and I've gone down many different rabbit holes. And there were quite a few subjects that I was really passionate about. But I really wanted to look at what is it that this is my last movie. What is important for me to have left said? Every movie could be your last movie. And in my case, it's my first. So, and what are you willing to talk about for the rest of your career as a filmmaker, as a gray-haired Alana? What am I going to be okay with talking about on stage? And I just felt that Bitcoin and energy and mining and computers and what the world is going to look like I know what it's going to look like because I've seen it. I already know what it looks like today. So it's not a stretch for me to say, do you know how big the physical footprint of our digital lives already is? Not just Bitcoin, like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, all your videos, all your pictures, all your shit. Where is that? That's in a computer somewhere. And the more we talk about the metaverse, I mean, that's also going AI. I mean, all of this is going to require more chips, more computer manufacturing, and we're gonna start seeing some censorship of what chips can get manufactured. And like an ASIC is a chip that just performs the one thing. So imagine if that one thing were outlawed. It's just such an interesting and fascinating conversation that I felt that a lot of people weren't having because it was Bitcoin and they weren't in Bitcoin. And I happen to be in like the normie world of tech and also Bitcoin. And so I was able to make that connection. And I know that a lot of people that think that Bitcoin is bad for the environment, it's because they just haven't really looked at what is that? The context of the information, the context of the energy consumption. And so I felt that if I felt that was the subject that I would be most passionate about, I would enjoy sinking my teeth in. I did not want to make it quick. When you're making videos for customers, it's like, what can I do in 2 weeks or what can I do in 3 weeks? Because you're not paying me enough to work on this for 3 months. It's like, this got to move quickly. And so with the movie, I was like, no, I want to take my time. I want to really just let the leads take me, one interview take me to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's exactly what happened. And so I'm really happy this is the subject that I decided to cover.
And were all of these interviews that you did, were they in person? Did you have to leave and travel and go and sit down and film at location for every interview?
Every single interview. Well, so, okay. Every single interview was filmed by a real camera. We only have one webcam. And that was because it was the end of the film. And I just really felt like the end of the editing of it. And there were just these few lines that I needed. And I was like, I just really need somebody to say this. And nobody said it. And so I called a good friend of mine that is a miner and it's investing in new energy and is investing in new transmission. And like, he's in energy and mining. And I was like, hey, we've had this conversation before. Can we do like a
Yeah.
fucking webcam interview. And so I didn't want to do webcam because I wanted the quality to be high. And
Yeah, I
especially after
understand
coming
that.
out of the pandemic, I did so many things like remote that I wanted to flex that I know how to use a camera. I was a director of photography, like I've been a photographer my whole life. And so I want to frame my person. I want to, or work with a cinematographer because I was wearing a lot of hats. So in most places I would go, hire a local crew and then they would come with their camera. I would tell them what I needed. Like I need this type of camera. I would hire them for the day the same way that I would get hired by the day in San Francisco for shoots as well. So I would hire people like that. And then that way I don't have to travel with so much gear. Because traveling with gear, especially internationally, it sucks. You have
Hmm.
to get a carnet. You have to, hope that nobody steals anything. And, the you want to insure it for the right amount, but it's actually way more.
Hmm.
It's just tricky. And so, yeah, but there were some places that I had to go with my little camera, with my Leica, and just shoot handheld because I, it was just, you can come tomorrow. And it's like, whoa, okay, and maybe not tomorrow, but like
Hmm.
in 4 days. And so I just would bring my camera, and I'm actually extremely surprised at how the Leica performed because we shot with Alexas, we shot with Reds, we shot with different high-end cameras all over the world. And my little Leica like edits really well with the rest of them. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty powerful. So technology is getting like better by the day. And so in some places I did send a crew, which is how this is a tactic that I learned at Google. And it was just such a hack because I suddenly felt I could be anywhere in the world. Um, I would zoom in and then my face would be put on one of the monitors. And so they would be speaking to me, but I had a local crew that was there recording.
Recording them
So
in
I had a
person.
local, yeah, and so I'm not there. I'm just directing. I'm there the whole time. I log on, I'm watching everything. I can see my Zoom sees what the camera sees, so I
Hmm.
can talk to the cinematographer. I can let him know like if I have any feedback. And the person is still talking to me. So they still see me on screen. And that allowed us to go to Malawi was done that way. When we could do video, because sometimes we couldn't do video. We were in different time zones. I was actually in Washington, D.C. at the same time. Is I got an opportunity to record Senator Lummis. And I was like, I have to have a senator in my film. I have to. And so it just legitimizes it. And it's true. Like when I tag the people that are in the film, it increases the credibility of my film if I can attach like Wikipedia page articles, or something official that these people really exist. It's not, oh, this is Rocky, the Bitcoiner, or like Mr. Hodl dude. It's like,
Mr.
this is
Huddle Dude.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Those are the people that are boots on the ground. Those are the people that
Yeah.
I also interviewed, but I can't find a Wikipedia page linked for them. And so I cannot fill that out on IMDb.
This is so intriguing to me. What does something like that cost, if you don't mind me asking? It's so weird. I'm filming a documentary too, and I'm doing it in such a different way. And I'm traveling with all my gear. I have special cases that are built specifically to house like all of my gear at like right at that 50-pound limit in one like
All
giant
right.
Pelican case. And it's like super, I mean, it's a pain. You're 100% right. I guess I never thought about doing it remotely like that. What does that cost? Is that expensive?
So when I cruise, I always think they're going to be $600 to $2,000 per day. That's
Okay.
kind of like the budget that I'm thinking with because I can hire one guy that's like a one man show that has like two cameras, a micro,
Mhm.
like a boom, and that's it, lights. And then I can help him set up. The two of us can set it up before our guests start arriving. Easy. That's maybe like you could get that for $600, depending on the city, but it can go up from there. And sometimes you'll be working with a director of photography that will say, I don't do sound, but I have an Alexa and this lens kit and incredible lights.
Mhm.
So already there, that's, a gaffer. They also do all their own electric because now gear, it's just LEDs. So but then I have to hire an audio guy if that's the case. And so then the audio guy will be additional. You got to get more food as well. And so, yeah, I would say it's around 600 to 2000 a day. And then that you're shooting with they shot with better gear than I have. And I didn't have to rent the gear. I didn't have to get insurance to rent the gear, which I've done all of this. And there are going to be situations where, that's what I'm going to have to do, right? We just have to rent the gear. But if you hire somebody that already has the gear, they already have it in tip top shape. Sometimes when you rent gear, you know how many times I rented a camera and then there would be a missing part in the case and I'm already on set and there's the freaking HDMI is not there to connect the director's monitor to the camera. And now you have this big ass monitor that you rented, but you don't have the cable to connect it. The client is there. I thought I was going to have a monitor. And you're like, I don't.
Yeah.
So
Fuck.
yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. But when you hire somebody,
Bring their
they
own
care
shit.
for their gear and they want to make sure that they perform well.
So you had talked a little bit about, I don't want to get too far into it, but you had talked a little bit about how it was cheaper, but then you had to crowdsource. Like, I assume that something like this is, I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. What is an overall production? Like, did you have a preset budget before you got into this, or was it like, I'm gonna kind of make it work no matter what I have to do?
No, I had a preset budget.
Did you go over?
Well, my first budget was 1.2 million. And then that budget, 1.2. Yeah, because it was a lot of traveling. I wanted to be able to not just record talking heads. And if you want to have more gear, more time in more locations, you want to have a full day for your drone. Some places we only had we have 40 minutes to shoot drone between now and this next thing if we have time. And so you can only get one shot. You hope that it's a good shot, or you have one battery you can use. It's when you have more time and you can go to more places, you can really you can tell. And the cities that we did, you can tell, because Malawi, for example, I was like, I want a full day of drones. I do not want you guys to fit drones between interviews. You'll do interviews and people one day, and you'll do drone the next day, and B-roll. That's it. Because if you don't say for sure this is the day to capture beautiful shots, it's tough when you're having all these conversations with people, because ultimately that's the content, and you can use stock video if you really needed to. But for me, it was so important to really capture exactly what it looks like and use the minimum amount of stock so that it could, just it's a documentary. I didn't want it to be like another corporate thing that I do. And so we still ended up using stock B-roll, but because there are just some things that we can't capture. But most of the B-roll that you see in the film was all taken for the film.
Wow, this is so impressive. I'm so intrigued.
I will say, though, it didn't end up being 1.2 million. So just to go back to your budget question, that I did a new budget and it was $430,000. So I was able to reduce a bunch of stuff. So you can imagine that's extra days of filming, that's animated scenes that I had to take out. Can you still hear me? Because I'm frozen.
Yeah. That's all right. It's just internet. Yeah, you're good.
Cool. Okay, cool. So it ended up being 400K, and that came from, me raising it from private investors. We have Dirtycoin is a LLC, is a Puerto Rican film LLC. And so we are basically a super legitimate company. I raised money in fiat with contracts and operating, and there's a data room, and we're also I was told that a crypto movie would never be considered a real film in Puerto Rico by the Film Commission, and that they wouldn't support it. And so I had to make my case that Dirtycoin is not a crypto movie. It is a movie about energy, and it is a movie about a new player that seems to be has integrated itself into our energy landscape all over the world, and in very beneficial ways and in very interesting ways. So we have a potential solution to our energy crisis, different energy crises. We have many, and Bitcoin seems to fix a lot of them. And so I had to explain that to them before the movie being done. They have to, give
Okay.
us that, certification decree. Um, they gave it to us last year, and then we had to go through an audit. So it's been a completely super legitimate um, raising of funds. I did do a crowdsourcing campaign through Geyser, and we've raised, it's misleading because it says the number of sats and what that's worth today, but we raised a lot of that when Bitcoin was at 22K. So I don't think that the number that's on there is accurate. I think that's probably like what the satoshis are worth today, because
Yeah.
we definitely haven't raised that much money. But that's like not really, that doesn't even cover one of the trips, like right now it says 5K. And let's say we were to take that at face value and not
What it
know that
really was.
it's actually less. Let's say it's 5K. I mean, that's like barely a city. And I went to 4 different continents. So no, the crowdsourcing, it was good from a creating fans perspective as well, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that feel like they've contributed, their name are up on the credits,
Mhm.
like they'll get they get discounts for things that I do. They get like Geyser exclusive stuff. So they do get a special treatment, but it's really more for me to also know who's my fan, who wants to watch this movie. So it's um not really what helps fund it, but it's a way that you get to find your tribe and they fund you. So it's pretty great.
Wow, that's so cool. This is so intriguing. So we're putting together a documentary right now, and our budget is like less than 50,000, and we're going to 8 states,
Nice.
and there's two of us, and it's nonstop travel. But I'm the videographer, I'm the audio guy, I'm the camera guy, I'm the drone guy, I got an editor that
Yeah.
I've been working with for 4 years that produces Netflix quality documentary style edits at like the highest level for like the best deal possible. So it's like we're putting this thing together for on like such a shoestring budget. I can only imagine what it would be like to me and my partner talk about it all the time. Like imagine if this thing does good, like what we're going to be able to do with an actual budget. So
Absolutely. Well, and
how
I
do
can
you
tell you that
go ahead?
my legal fees alone to make it a legitimate, a film decree film were like 20,000. So you can imagine, like it's a completely different league when you're making a movie for sale. Just making it like a legal entity that with all of the intellectual property certificates and contracts, their contracts, all of that is what a network needs in order to license. They need to license a real intellectual property that has been written as such in a state, in a country. That this is an intellectual property. This is a movie. This is an art piece. This is a thing, and
Mhm.
and that's what they need. And then they need like every shot, every font, everything needs to have a, that alone costs us $4,000, just the study and say that every shot that I put in the film is a shot that I have my copyright rights to use that shot. So it's been like I've learned so much from like making the films that I used to make for YouTube and Vimeo that I have more than 500,000,000 views on YouTube with all my films combined. But very different when you're going to sell it itself as its own intellectual property. So I've learned so much, and I paid to learn that because of all these lawyers and all these meetings, and I'm like, what? I didn't know this. But I did, and I did use templates of friends of mine, and they were like, "You're gonna need like 30K for legal," and I was like, "30K? That's ridiculous. Why do I need fucking 30K?" No, I didn't need 30K. I ended up using around 20, but it still ended up being way more. I thought that it would just be like, I'll just hire some lawyers. They'll give me a bunch of contracts at the beginning for, likeness consent forms, location consent forms, and maybe a couple of things for the investors, and that's it. But they've actually been every step of the way, getting the decree, getting the film for me to be able to, some of the cinemas, and sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. It's just that I've learned
No.
so much in this, but some of the cinemas that we're going to be doing screenings in, I've needed to provide the legal paperwork saying that I own the rights to this film, like me, and that I am giving the rights to the person who's giving it. So And you can only get that if the film has already been deemed as, yes, this is actually your intellectual property. You did actually do this in a legitimate way. And you own, it's not like a movie where half of the movie is another movie. you know, like it's a movie that's original content that is, yes, it is Dirtycoin. It is made by Alana. And yeah, it's been really interesting to see how all these interactions. I never thought I needed that piece of paper, and I've had to link it in emails like already 3 times this week. Last week.
Jeez, OP. So I guess how do you distribute? Is this something that you're willing to invest that amount of money because of the distribution of it? Like that there's partners that are going to help you get this video out to the masses? Because we're doing like completely independent. We built our own website. We're doing direct sales through our website. We're
Okay.
selling, I mean, tons of copies, but like and like somebody like is like, oh, we talked to a guy that makes documentaries for Netflix, and we're like, well, what is your upside on, like, what does Netflix pay for a documentary? And he's like, well, if you go to Cannes Film Festival and you do this and you get approved by that, you know, he goes,
A lot of hoops.
but yeah, a lot of hoops. He's like 300,000, and we're like, we're gonna clear, like, we could probably do that on our own. Like, why would we want to like go down and bend over and like, suck the corporate
Agreed.
dong basically to like stroke some dude's ego at Cannon Fest because they hope they give us 300 grand. It just seemed like so much work, but it sounds like there's obviously way more reward than that in other areas if you're going to be willing to put 400K into a documentary.
Well, I think that a lot of filmmakers have gotten lazy because they're like, well, Netflix will buy it. It's like, okay, but what if Netflix doesn't buy it? Well, HBO will buy it. Peacock, whatever. Like somebody will buy it. It's like, why don't you go to the box office with it? Why don't you test it in the theaters? Why don't you go to the movie theaters like filmmakers had to do in the 90s and test out their movie at the box office? And that's what I'm going to be doing with Dirtycoin. We're going to the box office. We're going to movie theaters that, and I've been contacting a lot of these movie theaters, and we're just going straight to theaters. And we're doing private screenings now in the summer, so I can show the film. I can, create hype, and more people can find out about it. Like people in the inner circle can find out about it. But my full intention is to go to the movie theaters. Whether I partner up with a distributor that I think has the same vision as I do. So far, a couple of distributors have approached us, have given us offers, but they want to go straight to streaming. And I don't want to just go straight. I don't want to just if I could put the movie myself on Amazon Prime if I wanted to. There's this website called Film Hub. Film Hub will get you on Apple. It'll get you on Amazon. So you yourself, you don't necessarily need a distributor anymore to do these things unless they're going to put you on the front page, but they're not. A lot of them are not. And so I've said no to a lot of these offers because so far we're already licensing the film and we're already making money off the film, which is fantastic. And it's what is now fueling my marketing efforts for the international film distribution and the creating of new subtitles. So for example, we have a screening in Berlin on June 7th, and the movie needs to have German subtitles. And so that's what this budget of these early summer screenings, that's what it's helping me pay for. So, because I still don't have any kind of like, oh, well, here's $1 million to do it. It's like all of this I need to bootstrap, but all in the effort of creating grassroots effort and movement to get people to the movie theaters once it hits the movie theater, and they can go and buy the ticket at their local theater. And we have a lot of like art house theaters. We've identified a lot of big Bitcoin communities, big Web3 communities, big tech communities. And those are going to be the places that we're going to focus on first. And then if it grows from there, great. But even a modest distribution run like that, like even like a modest, like I've been studying a lot of like a lot of these horror movies. It's a different genre. So it's important to understand that it's a different genre. But horror filmmakers get people to the movies to watch their movie. So they're very good at marketing. So what are they doing as a producer? What is it that they're doing? And so basically what they're doing is they're encouraging meetups and they're encouraging groups to come and watch these movies together and then like go and in their costumes, go to a bar or something like that. And so that's going to be part of our strategy is to go and watch the movie and then have a meetup, go across and grab a beer and talk about the movie. And so I'm going to test the movie at the box office. But anyway, these guys modestly, they'll make like 12 million, 20 million. And a lot of these studios, they're not interested in that because it's too small. But for the filmmakers, that's pretty great because a lot of these horror films are just like a million or under a million, right? Horror is pretty cheap to produce.
Mhm.
And they're turning it around and they're like 10 and 20xing that. Some of them, of course, not all of them, but even the
Mhm.
ones that are not making that much money are still they're making their money back and then some, and they're funding their next project. So as filmmakers, they're actually funding themselves bigger and bigger projects. And so they don't even need to go and convince investors anymore. So it's a super exciting time for independent filmmakers. And one of the places that you make, so here's the thing, you go to the theaters, you make money at the theaters, but then people, even if they didn't go watch the movie, they found out that you were at the movie theater. So it increases the value of your movie because it's a movie, because it went to the theaters. And so then if you get an offer from Netflix, it's no longer 300,000. It's what they paid for Awake, which was like many millions on a movie that had already been seen. You would think that they were like done. You know, everybody fucking saw it in like theaters and yoga studios, and this was a documentary. And yeah, and so Netflix paid a lot of money. But at that point, the documentary, and I already pitched Dirtycoin, and they said no. Netflix wants to, based on the conversation that I had recently with Netflix, was they want to come in early to these projects. And they're very interested in docu-series, so docudramas. They're very interested in docudramas, and they're very interested in series, documentary series. And they want to come in early. They want to use their own production companies, their own animation companies, because they know that they will create a film that's going to be up to the standards of Netflix, for example. And they have a huge in-house documentary department that they've been recently bolstering, so that they can create their own internal, like Netflix originals, just internally. So right now, Netflix, the only way that they would consider Dirtycoin is if it's a box office success. That's the exception. So what's interesting, it's like, no, we don't want you, but don't worry. But they weren't mean. They were very nice. But like, we don't want the movie. But if we only make exceptions, if the movie has already tested in the market and it has been a theatrical success. So if you have a box office record, come back if I wanted to, right? But at that point, you know, other streaming platforms may come as well. And so the offer, now they're coming to you and the offers are much higher than you going to them. So it's way more work as a producer to do it the way that I'm, you know, going to the box office. But you're doing it, in my opinion, in the best way. You're letting the market decide, like, is this a movie that's worth anything? And you're taking a risk, and the reward could be potentially very large, much larger than you accept 500,000 or 1 million or 2 million from one of these streamers for your movie.
Well, I thought I had this shit figured out. I thought I knew what I was doing over here, and obviously I have no fucking clue. Like, this is on another level. Like, I'm getting ready to leave right after this and film a documentary on Bitcoin with Eric V. Stacks, and
Nice.
nothing like this. I'm so, man. I could interview you for like probably like the next 4 hours and not like, this is the most interesting interview I've ever probably done in my life. I don't know why, but it's like you're killing it, and I'm so intrigued by what you guys are doing, and it seems like you really have your shit together. This is on like a whole different level of documentaries. I had no clue any of this happened. So, oh man, I don't even know what the next question I want to ask. I have so many. Tell me a little bit more about, so now tell me about the route that you're going. So Netflix turned you down, and now what stage are you at right now?
So right now we are licensing the movie, and we're doing our own private screenings. We're doing both. So some people are basically helping produce an event, and I'm licensing the movie to them. So that's, for example, what's occurring in Berlin. They have the Berlin meetup, and they want to rent a movie theater and include Dirtycoin as part of, you know, their event.
Okay.
And they license the movie from me for
Flat
a
rate.
rate, a flat rate. and they can get sponsors, and they did, and they can sell tickets, which they have. But they then take the risk of
Yeah.
renting a movie theater and not selling any tickets, right?
Mhm.
But they get the reward of they actually have already made their money back just on tickets alone, plus they have sponsors.
Mhm.
And for me, I felt if my win is another person's win, then more people are going to want to do this. It's
Yeah.
not just like, well, pay me. It's like, yeah, pay me and make money. Let's all make money.
Yeah.
Let's all make this opportunity. Let's all make this something that continues to happen. So that's one way. And then another way is I'll produce my own events and I'll host a panel after. So we have one coming up in Miami and one coming up in Nashville, one coming up in Atlanta.
Wait, you guys going to
Uh,
Bitcoin Nashville?
yes.
Oh, so excited. I just applied for media credentials. I pray that I get in there.
Oh,
If I do, I'll see you there. Either way, I'm going to buy myself a ticket if they don't give me media credentials, but I'm definitely
good.
coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll put in a word.
Will you
I'll put
have
in a word.
will you have an opportunity to do a sit down in person interview with me while you're there?
Yes. Yes. I don't
Awesome.
even know if I'm going to go to the conference, to be super frank. But I will be in Nashville. It's
Cool.
just the last few times that I've been, last few times. Well, uh, not necessarily last few times. I just haven't really even been inside the space. And so to get a ticket or to get a media pass when somebody else should get it, if there's a quota, I kind of feel like I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to go inside, but I am going to have a ton of meetings with a ton of people outside, and I could do things like this, like interviews. And we are
Perfect.
going to be doing the screening on the 24th. And I hope that everybody goes to the conference. I'm not anti the conference. I'm not boycotting the conference.
Mhm.
I just, the last couple times, I just haven't even been inside. So then why have the ticket?
So how did you, if you don't mind me asking, is it rude for me to ask, how do you raise $400,000? Is that something like you self-funded because you saw the profits in the future, or was this like
Some of
that seems
it,
like an
some of it.
insane amount of money?
So the first amount obviously self-funded with like credit cards and but
Mhm.
because I needed to know if I was really willing to put even my own money on the line for the movie. Because if I can't put my own money on the line, I can't ask other people to put their money on the
Yeah.
line. And so I started with, you know, going to the Bitcoin conference, sitting at all of the mining panels, learning as much as I could about mining and seeing where it was different from data centers, which is what I knew more of. And like more like AI data centers is the experience that I bring to the table. And so I wanted to see, what is it? And I paid for my ticket paid full price for my freaking ticket for the first Bitcoin conference, second time too, I believe. But I just went to learn. And then same consensus. I also went to opposing conversations of people saying that proof of work was bad, that it was a dirty coin. And I went to those as well because I wanted to know what is being said. I didn't just go to Bitcoin conferences. I wanted to know what other people were saying, learn
Mhm.
everything, and also do a little bit of market research. What are the words that the opposition uses? What do they know? What my
Mhm.
viewer, what are they more likely to know already? And so I went to all those different things. And then I decided, yeah, this is really cool. I think I'm onto something and I'm going to just go right in. And so that's when I then also self funded the lawyer to begin the proper LLC work for the company. So Dirtycoin is Dirtycoin the Movie LLC. It's its own company that owns the IP, that owns the movie, and owns any of the IP of the movie. So for merchandise, audiobooks, anything else that we do. And so I went out and I started raising funds. And obviously before that, I did what I always do, which is, study something to no end. Just completely obsess over it until I feel like I have a good kind of handle. That's when I lowered the price because I knew I could do it for less money and I didn't want to get hung up on the 1.2 million. Frankly, raising money with a name like Dirtycoin, a documentary about Bitcoin mining, it was a little tough. People thought that I was going to make an anti-Bitcoin mining documentary. And they would ask me, is it an anti-Bitcoin mining documentary? And I remember saying, like, It's whatever I find. So, I don't know. We're gonna see what I see. If I go to a place and I see something crazy, I'm
Yeah.
gonna incorporate it in the story. I mean, this is a human curiosity and human interest story. This isn't a propaganda piece. And so some people didn't like my answer. And they were like, then I don't really want to give you any money then,
Mhm.
because I love Bitcoin. And then there were other investors that were like, I'm down. Let's see what's out there. Let's check it out. And they were definitely a lot more degenerates, a lot of them. And then they asked me if I had any kind of NFT or any kind of ordinal, or well, actually, I don't think there were any ordinals back then. In fact, I'm sure there wasn't. But I decided not to do any NFTs. I just wanted to make a really legitimate film, and I knew that we were already under a microscope from the perspective of the film commission was like literally going to audit me, and I knew this going in. We still accepted Bitcoin as investment and learned a lot about how to do that and not do that, which off ramps to use, and which off ramps the company should use and not the founders off ramps. So got slapped on the wrist many times by my auditor and my accountant and my lawyer. And it have basically that's the only crypto thing I did was accept Bitcoin as an investment. But most people didn't. Sorry, you have a question? Yes.
Shit, my audio's not on. Tell me about those on ramps and off ramps. What did you get canceled? Did your banks shut you down? Tell me a little bit about that. And
No.
then
So let's say you have like an investor decides to invest in Dirtycoin, the movie LLC. He elects or she elects to invest in Bitcoin. Excellent. They've put money in Bitcoin. Now, in order to make the movie, I need to have fiat, obviously. So I need to off ramp that Bitcoin. And the sooner you can off ramp it, the better, which is not what you want to hear, because there's capital
capital gains.
gains on that when that goes up. So ideally, my accountant, which we didn't do that with 100% of the funds, because I was like, I must hold something, I can't completely get rid of this. And she was like, well, you really should. Like, you really should. As soon as you
Mhm.
get it, you off ramp it immediately. And so I wasn't doing that at the beginning. And then I was off ramping it through my personal Coinbase. So that was the way that I was turning one
Ooh,
company's Bitcoin into cash, was through my personal Coinbase.
personal. Hmm.
You can't do that. You can't do that either, because then now that's like my money. That's me. That's my person. So we had to
Yeah.
then deal with all the paperwork and paper trail for that, which
Ooh,
is good. They were cool. They played ball. They
yeah.
saw the trail of all the different bank accounts and everything. But
Mm.
what that meant was that now the audit wasn't just an audit of the movie. Now the audit also needed to be an audit of my personal finances as well. Yes, exactly. So that sucked. So suddenly I was now doing an audit that included my personal finances, my personal bank accounts, my everything. So that sucked. But then we went through it, whatever. I'm clean. So we're good. But that still sucked, because those are additional paperwork, additional questions, additional fucking everything you have to do. Not to mention, in order to get the decree, you have to pay any back taxes that you might owe. So by scraping through and seeing that certain contractors weren't, like in Puerto Rico, you don't just do a 1099 at the end of the year and say, I paid so and so X amount. They're responsible for their taxes. Here, you have to retain their taxes. So when you get an invoice from a contractor here, you have to retain taxes and pay the government immediately for that amount of money that you just paid that person. And so that was something that I also hadn't done. And so I had to go back and pay a bunch of back taxes, just so that the film right now is squeaky fucking clean. The movie at this moment, like the movie is like
Heck.
beautiful. It's like so well done, which was so much energy. I forgot your question now.
No, that was the about the raising the 400,000 was the original one. And then I just was
Yeah.
curious on how you got screwed there, but yeah, please continue on the original.
So the solution for that is just to have an off ramp that's connected to the company. You can decide at that point if you want to sell or not sell everything. You can have your treasury in Bitcoin, but you should have an off ramp that is an off ramp that's connected to your corporate entity. If that money came for that corporate entity, as in the case of raising funds. We're going to be selling merchandise in Bitcoin. So we're going to be, we do want to continue to be a Bitcoin company, but we need to do it in the most legitimate way, because in Puerto Rico right now, we have all eyes on us. I'm like the comeback kid that made a movie about Bitcoin, and it's an international movie, and we just got audited. And I'm sure that I have a big old target on my back of like, let's continue to keep an eye on this person that is dealing in crypto. And, so for me, it's really important to do things extremely proper. And so currently we're not selling any merchandise for Bitcoin, for example. We're not accepting until I have that off ramp set up. I need the fiat, because we need the fiat to pay the bills. So it's been an interesting and long learning experience on how to deal with Bitcoin in a legitimate, audit approved way.
And now, if you lived in a state or country like El Salvador, this would have been completely different, right? No tax, no sales tax, no property tax, no income tax, no capital gains tax. But you're in Puerto Rico, so you're basically getting crushed by the weight of bureaucracy. Is what it like? This whole thing just seems like I need an audit. I need a government to approve this. I need a corporation to give me permission. I need this. I need that. I need that. It's like, dude, I'm just trying to shoot films and sell my films to people. Like, and there's so many roadblocks that you had to go. So I know you're on a time crunch and you have to leave at 11:30 hard stop. Do you have to leave before 11:30 because you have to be somewhere at 11:30 on the dot?
No, remote life.
Okay, so what is best case? Like, all the stars align. Where do you see this going? When do you think people like myself will be able to watch it in the movie theater? Can people download it and purchase it from you right now? Give me the whole kind of wrap up on this.
So the movie's not available online, and you can't get it online. If I send a screener, it expires in 2 days. So,
Yep.
it's very, mystery is an important element to all of this. So no, it's not available online yet. It will be. There are going to be events. If you're going to Nashville, you can watch it in Nashville. We're going to have a panel right after with Troy, Eric Hirschman, Chester Nay. And I have another person that I'm trying to secure. And so that's going to be a pretty epic one, in my opinion, because we can fill up to 800 seats. And I wonder if we can fill 800 seats. And so that's my goal. I can put 800 people in there. So that's the goal. And then I was planning an October 31st indie movie theater release, and we are still contacting movie theaters. We've learned what it is that they need from us, what we can give them. We've kind of ironed all of that out. And so we're going to continue to do that, but we're no longer going to aim for this year release. There are a couple of film festivals that I really like to get into. I do think that it's important for the film to pierce outside the bubble. And Stranded, which was the short film and proof of concept that I did before Dirtycoin, I submitted it to a bunch of film festivals, and I felt like I got some of the best feedback there. It's people that don't know anything about Bitcoin. They have maybe heard a couple of things on the news, but that's it. And that's my target. It's that person. And, being able to have that film festival run and seeing how, like, just letting other people know that don't already know this. Bitcoiners kind of already know about Gridless, and they know who Troy Cross is. I mean, if you know either of those two words, I hope you enjoy the movie, but the movie's not for you. The movie is for the person that hasn't done that homework and that research, and that, is curious, but all they have is black PR in their minds about it. And so we are going to do a couple of more festivals that hopefully I get into. These particular festivals, these would be huge for the documentary, and we would get a lot of media exposure. So that media exposure would really help us reach very far outside the orange bubble. and bring this conversation to normies, bring this conversation to Greenpeace. You know, I can't wait for the first smear article about my movie from Greenpeace. You know, that's when I know that we've hit the mainstream.
And is there a trailer that anybody can watch for this? And where can they find it at?
Yeah, on our website, on our Twitter, it's pinned.
That's your pinned tweet? Can I play it?
Tweet, yeah.
I got it lined up. Can I play it for everybody? All right, check this out, guys.
Ahead.
You can burn as many Bibles as you want. The Bible.
Data centers.
Hold up. I had another layer under that one. My bad. All right, let's try this. Let's start from scratch. All right, coming at you.
Everybody's fine. And the moment I say the word Bitcoin, conversation's over.
By one estimate, annual global Bitcoin mining uses more electricity than the entire nation of the Netherlands.
Bitcoin in general is wasteful by design.
One Bitcoin transaction is equal to throwing away 2 iPhones.
Burns as much electricity as the country of Argentina.
It's wrecking their grid.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's a giant pyramid scheme.
Bitcoin mining does consume a lot of power. It's the reality of it, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
A lot of facilities, mining rigs and facilities, will attach themselves to energy infrastructures that have basically unused energy.
What if you turn that flared gas into another product that you could sell?
We're not really looking at the problem in totality.
The energy that we're sourcing is from green, renewable resources.
Why wouldn't we want to produce that kind of energy for a new financial system that creates freedom, transparency, independence?
We have the flexibility to shut off when the grid demands additional capacity of power. That flexibility is a very unique property to Bitcoin mining.
So if we compare one Bitcoin transaction to 100,000 Visa transactions, Bitcoin will still require up to 10 times more electrical energy per transaction.
I think we're at an incredibly pivotal moment right now in the evolution of Bitcoin mining.
The next wave of Bitcoin adoption comes from the energy companies.
Bitcoin and the changes that it implies will not just be rainbows and unicorns, because we're replacing a system that has a lot of debt built up. And I don't just mean monetary debt, but moral and ecological debt.
The most cost-effective ways of generating power to power Bitcoin mining are actually solving key energy infrastructural challenges.
So we've got a stigma attached to Bitcoin that's actually standing in the way of us doing what we need to do to make the transition to a decarbonized economy.
Wow, that was so good. Holy
Thank
cow.
you.
Do you edit these?
Yeah. Well, yes. Yes, I do. I don't edit all of them. And the new one for Dirtycoin, I want to work with an editor, and we're still kind of like in the nailing down a time to meet, because I would prefer for him to do it. But I have an idea of what I want the new one to be. And this one is over a year old. So we interviewed more people since then. And it needs a refresh because we need to incorporate some of those new people, and the color grading is done for the film. So we also have like the final color grading. That one, I just, played around until things look the right color.
Yeah.
But now, everything is color graded and ready to use in a proper teaser. So we are going to be releasing a proper teaser, or a new one, hopefully in the next couple of months.
And last question, because I know you have to run. What role does your husband play in this? Is he part of the team, the documentary team, or is he completely separated doing his own thing?
So he's a stay-at-home parent, and we have 3 kids, and we homeschool our 3 kids as well. So he is the tutor and stay-at-home parent of the family. And then I am the one that works. And we've been doing that for the last 6 years, more or less. But that being said, when the audit became a nightmare, I was like, so babe, you have a role in this
time to tap you in.
And you are going to basically be my line producer. And he's like, what's a line producer? And I'm like, well, it's the person that basically goes line by line and, make sense of it all. Make sure that the invoices are paid and like and attach the receipts,
Yep.
easy. And so I brought him in to do that, and I had to basically train him on what to do. It's an easy to learn thing, but it's a lot of spreadsheets, and he's a designer. So he's like, no. And so he came in last year when we started all of this, and this bureaucratic nightmare, like you pointed out earlier. And then he basically was able to carve out his day in a way that he could put in 2 hours of work a day that he couldn't before, because our son, was a baby. He's now 5. So he's a little bit more independent. And we have a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 16-year-old. And so he was able to carve out that time to work on the audit. And then he was like, we really need to work on the merch, and you don't have the bandwidth to do merch. So I'm going to do merch, and we're going to blow up our merch strategy. So I have like merch, I have like some things, but I printed for myself so I can put it on for a conference. And, I don't have the bandwidth. I didn't have the bandwidth to also be like in charge of merch. And so now he's working on the merch, and he's redesigned the website. So the new website, the current website is the one that I designed. And he's designing a new one using Shopify. And then we're working on some really cool things for the store. So we're going to be online, and we're going to be at conferences later on after we've, printed a couple of them and we have our feet under us there. We're going to be selling those as well. So we're going to have a bunch of stuff at conferences, which is going to be cool coming up.
And what is the website? I want to show everybody the website. I know I have it down in the description of the video, but I did not put it in the Rumble one. It's over on YouTube. So what is the website?
No worries. Go to dirtycointhemovie.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's our current site, and the new one is going to be a lot simpler for me. I just was like, I wanted people to find something and that made sense when they were looking for information. And then that's the same teaser you played. And then we have a lot of people signing up for our newsletter. I've never had a company that's awesome. I've never had a company that so many people really cared about my newsletter. Like my corporate company, we would get one request, I don't know, a month maybe. But here we get like 2 to 3 a day. So that's really cool. And then here's a blog, and I've been pretty not like active in the sense that I do it every week, but since the beginning I have been, writing and just kind of laying down the events that I've done, updates, things like that. That pop up. That's probably one of the reasons why we also get more subscriptions.
No, I like that.
It's the pop up.
Yeah. Wow, this is so intriguing. I wish we had more time. I would love to have you back anytime that you get free time. We'd like to come on and chat about documentaries or filmmaking, or we can promote this. I would love to bring you on my show on LFA TV too when you get closer to releasing this, and like actually promote it in front of thousands of people for you.
That would be amazing. Yes, let's do it. And in a few months, I mean, right now, every day is like every week is explosive. Every week is like conversations with theaters, finding out that they need new things. The DCP is different in different theaters, and like different things that I'm learning. And so I feel like in a few months, a lot of this will make a lot more sense, and I'll be able to share a lot more information as well in terms of the movie theater distribution strategy, which I'm really excited about.
I hope you absolutely crush it. Anything I can do to help you guys or promote this, please let me know. I really want to see you guys absolutely crush it. And then what is, I don't have any more time for more questions. I'd say what comes after this if you absolutely kill it? Are you doing another Bitcoin documentary? Do you have one in the works already? Maybe we can talk about that next time.
No. I really want to do one of my scripted pieces. And I'm also really, for me, the second isn't actually a documentary about Bitcoin. For me, a second would be a documentary about energy. I would continue more into energy and then do another Bitcoin mining one in like the next epoch. I really feel that we are doing an audiobook. So what's next is I am doing an audiobook with a lot of the scenes that we built, we edited, but we removed from the film because they kind of went into rabbit holes that I wanted to keep Dirtycoin very simple and just really make it about energy. And so I don't really have anything about the banks or economics or anything like that. It's not that film. But when that would come up, I would always bring it back to the person I was interviewing. Like, what does that have to do with energy? What does economics have to do with energy? And we got some really fascinating answers, but it was so esoteric that I just felt like in the movie we would kind of lose people a little bit. But we're doing an audiobook, and we do have a publisher for that already, and we're going to be doing it in English and in Spanish. And that one's going to be a lot of those really incredible scenes that I didn't put in the film because I felt like it wasn't the right place for them, or because it was opening up a door that we weren't going to close, or there were many reasons why these gut-wrenching cuts had to happen. But they can go into the audiobook. So the next thing is Dirtycoin, the audiobook, but that's now, that's happening now. In terms of next project, I would like to do something with an executive producer. I feel like being a director and executive producer for Dirtycoin is exhausting. It is so exhausting, and it's not scalable for me to do and have a family, because I like my family. I want to hang out with them, go to the beach, surf, hang out. And I wear 2 full-time hats, and it's indie. So as you know, sometimes you got to edit your own teasers. You got to do even more than just being a director and executive producer. And so I would like my next one to be something that I know I'm going to have a partner, an executive producer that can just let me direct. And actually I did want to say, if you do make documentaries for 50K, we should definitely talk, because I also want to executive produce other directors' work as well. I just don't want to necessarily wear both hats, but I really love the business side, the executive production side, like getting those investments in, closing those investments. I enjoy it. And I enjoy not figuring out how we're going to make our money back. Like, that's exciting to me. But I want to do that again when I am working with a director, where I'm basically doing that for something that the director is in charge of the direction, and I'm just in charge of the business side of things. So I'm willing to do both, but one at a time.
When you get done, because we're not just getting started, but we're like 2 trips out of 10 in, and I have this thing all put together in a really spectacular way. Well, we just got canceled from PayPal yesterday, so maybe not as spectacular as I thought, but I would like to show you what I have and just get your feedback and tell me how crazy you think I am for the route I'm going, and whenever you get time. So I'll shoot you my number in an email right now, and then you can just text me whenever you get done with what you're doing at 11:30 and give me a call whenever you get time.
Please. Actually, we're planning our screening in El Salvador at 11:30. 4 minutes ago.
Go, run, do you.
So yes, but thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I appreciate anybody that watched. And yes, let's definitely continue talking. And I cannot wait to share everything that I know, because I think that this strategy, it's good for every filmmaker. It's very, very good for every filmmaker, and I want to share it, and I want to see more people thriving at the theaters, and people at the theaters. I want to go to the theaters to watch these new films. So I'm excited. Sure. I think the future's bright.
Well, run, because you're late. So I'll pump your stuff. All right,
bye.
All right, folks, that is a wrap over here on the Ryan Matta Show. I told you guys I was going to be bringing you amazing guests over here, especially from the Bitcoin community. These are the brave patriots who are out there trying to help you guys, educate you about why Bitcoin is here to stay. And if you didn't hear Trump's speech at the Libertarian Party, let me just actually airdrop this over so everybody can actually hear this, and you can see exactly what's happening here. The most powerful man in the world is telling you that he is pro-Bitcoin. The most important man in the world that has been targeted, right? And he opened up his speech at the Libertarian Conference and goes, I've been indicted 91 times. If I wasn't a libertarian, I sure am hell becoming a libertarian. Or I sure as hell am sure as hell am one now. And the crowd, you know, that was a libertarian crowd. A lot of them looked at they lived in their mom's basement. Nothing against people that live in their mom's basement. I know we all been there. But when you're attacking President Trump and you're saying F President Trump, and this man is the only man standing between you and a bullet in your head, because that's what's coming to this country. That's what's coming to America. That's what's coming when the Communist Party takes over and you're left with absolutely nothing. But I specifically want to show you what this man's saying about Bitcoin and what he's saying about crypto and what he's saying about freeing Rich Albrecht. Check this out.
Be rectified, and it will be rectified very quickly. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
The Republican candidate having the Libertarian Party eating out of his hand.
He's already served 11 years. We're going to get him home. We're going to get him home. I'm proud that I have put forward a detailed plan to smash the censorship and industrial complex and restore free speech. On day one, I will sign an executive order banning federal agencies from colluding to censor the lawful speech of American citizens.
Amen.
And we will remove the rogue bureaucrats who conspire to take away your First Amendment freedoms. We will do that quickly. I will once again slash a record number of liberty-destroying regulations. I will stop Joe Biden's plan for the largest tax. He is going to give you the largest tax increase in the history of our country. And I will end that. And I will make the Trump tax cuts the biggest in the history of our country. We will make them permanent tax cuts.
Permanent tax cuts, baby.
We will also stop the massive Biden inflation tax, a stealth tax by which crooked Joe Biden is printing trillions and trillions of dollars and plundering it for the cronies and political friends that he's got all over Washington. And we will cancel the Green New Deal, which is the Green New Scam. It's a big scam. We will terminate Crooked Joe's insane electric vehicle mandate. And we're going to bring your energy costs down by 60 and 70% because we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill.
Okay, so Trump's pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto. He tells you everybody's going to keep Elizabeth Warren's hands off your Bitcoin. I think I jumped too early.
We will eliminate illegal government discrimination and return to a society based on individual rights and individual merit.
And the Fed, and the Fed, and the Fed, and the Fed, and the Fed.
And I will also stop Joe Biden's crusade to crush crypto. We're going to stop it. I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody.
Amen,
to
baby.
the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin.
And at that point, crypto Twitter blew up. 1.9 million views in like 10 hours on the bitcoinnews.com site. So this is why we got to get President Trump back in here. And we have to stop supporting companies that hate Americans and hate you, America. PayPal last night. Dear customers, thank you for your application for PayPal payouts. We received your business and your interest in our product. We are unable to approve your request based on our review of our PayPal account information. Your request was carefully considered and the decision was made for the following reasons. You're a white male in America, and we discriminate against all white males. You're an American patriot. You're an American first. You believe that you should have rights and freedom in America. Well, we hate you, America. And look no further than the price of PayPal stock, down from $300 down all the way to $61. I think it hit a low of $53. If you're not shorting PayPal, what are you doing? Why are you investing? This company is absolute trash, absolute garbage. They hate America, and they are on a mission to make you a slave in this country. They're illegal immigrants that are literally pissing on people. pissing on people. They got PayPal accounts. And wait till you see all of the illegal immigrants that we interview, and how many of them that have legally broke the law, illegally entered this country, but they get PayPal accounts. They can have PayPal accounts in America, but gosh forbid you're making a documentary to expose all these treasonous traitors and these scumbags inside of our own government. You, America, they're going to freeze your account and won't release your funds. So anybody that paid for our documentary in PayPal, you have been refunded. You can repurchase. You have already got access to the documentary. I'm not going to trace everybody down and beg you guys to repurchase our documentary, even though you got refunded. The email that you paid with should give you access to our website and to the documentary still. So you're good. And everybody has been refunded except for one person, because obviously PayPal takes out their fees. So we have one person that we can't refund because we have to wait for all the refunds to come through and all the payments to be refunded. And then our fees will be taken back and credited back so we can refund the original person. And even then, it won't be enough because they've taken the dollar out of that person. So we'll have to probably deposit money into that account just to refund that person. And then we're going to lose whatever money we deposit in that account because we won't be able to take it out. So that's how sad of a situation and the state of our country is in. But we're going to dig deep into the CEO of PayPal. We're going to dig deep into the board of directors. We're going to expose every bribe, every kickback, every lie, every legal government censorship regime. And hopefully it ends up and results in a massive lawsuit against the CEO of PayPal and his cronies that sit on the board of directors because they're scumbags. They hate this country. And that's what happens when you allow people from foreign nationalists to sit on the board of directors of United States companies. That means that if you are a Chinese Communist Party nationalist and you buy enough stock of PayPal to have one of the top 8 shareholds, then you get to pick a person on the board of directors. The person on the board of directors picks the management writes the policies, and those policies state that, well, PayPal can deplatform American citizens who are fighting to save this country. So I highly suggest you cancel your PayPal account. Use them at as little as possible. Their products are trash. If you own Bitcoin and you have Bitcoin on PayPal, get it off immediately. These scumbags are going to freeze your PayPal. They're going to freeze your Bitcoin. They're going to freeze your account. They're going to take your money. So God bless you guys. Pray for this country. Pray for America. Please swing over and support Alana Mediavilla, if I'm saying that right. I think I actually did say that right. Mediavilla. Please support her documentary. Links are both down in the description. You can go to dirtycointhemovie.com. And again, if you swing down below in the description, I put links, especially in the YouTube video, to her website and to her Twitter. But on Rumble, I've just put the Twitter. So I'm actually going to go down here in the main comments and we're going to post a link to the Dirtycoin movie. And we're going to be posting that down here. Completely different approach than what we've done on our documentary. So I'm super excited to have a further conversation with her and see how all of this works from the inside. So God bless each and every one of you guys. And Deb over here in the live chat says, D's Nut says, PayPal stole my Bitcoin. I had $600 in there. Check this out in the live chat. These are the scumbags that PayPal is. From American citizens who barely keep their head above water. PayPal's over here stealing your money. GM Ryan Deb says, I don't use PayPal anymore. PayPal stole my Bitcoin. I had $600, closed my account, and told me basically to F off back in 2020. And there's these scumbags. So God bless you guys. Pray for America. Pray for this country. We're going to keep fighting on, folks. We're not giving up. We're coming at them with everything we got. God bless you.
Run.